Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home. Thank you for being here tonight. It's Tuesday, it is the 17th of September, and our president is home with a cold, Jean Craig. And he said when I left tonight, if there was any thought in his mind of coming tonight, the way he was feeling tonight, it was good that he didn't come. I don't even want to be in the same room with him. So that says something, because I would stretch a little bit. But he sends his regards and he misses being here. As the Vice President of Education, it's my job to be, I'm the second in line, so I'm like stepping up and running the meeting. Dee, are you?
Yeah, I lost a piece of paper to it.
Okay, what was on it?
My jokes.
Okay, your jokes, are they over here? Is there anything over here? Okay, well, joke's on you, huh?
Find the jokes.
Yeah, and to find the jokes.
Okay, sorry.
All right,
I've got one if you.
Okay, yeah, I have my piece of paper, so go ahead.
okay. Okay, our joke master is sorting it out. Tonight, we have the pleasure of having one of our new members give his icebreaker. Kanan, we're looking forward to hearing that. I'm also going to be the Toastmaster for the evening, shifting for Dan. And I apologize, you guys, people got in and they got rid of their question marks, and we have a little hiccup in our Easy Speak software where it thinks that the meeting's already happened, so it doesn't let me get in and make any changes. So I was trying to print this and I went, can we change anything? It had lost Kanan's speech and it was in there.
Oh, really?
So this is why the agenda looks a little different. We just copied from the email that we sent out, but I apologize for the question marks. It doesn't mean that I question your existence or where you are, what stratosphere you're in, but it just means our software wasn't working. Tonight's theme is breaking free of comfort zones. Quote would be from Benedict Cumberbatch, who is Sherlock Holmes and a pretty well-known actor. The further you get away from yourself, the more challenging it is. Not to be in your comfort zone is great fun. And Toastmasters is fun, so we always want to emphasize that as well. Another quote, the comfort zone is a psychological state in which one feels familiar, safe, at ease, and secure. Doesn't sound that bad, does it? But you never change your life until you step out of your comfort zone. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone. By a gentleman, Roy T. Bennett, who has a lot of quotes about comfort zones. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral and communication skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. I know it's a little warm in here, but let's just generate applause for our... we're going to love this room when it gets cold. I'm just saying. As your Toastmaster, I'm going to go ahead and cover our roles. And I'd like to hear first from our timer, Janet Evertson. If you would please tell us how you'll be timing tonight.
I'll be using the lights over here. For the big speech, it's 5 minutes.
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay, so the green light will run at 4, and the yellow at 5, and the red at 6. Oh no, 6.5 for the red?
6. Now, we have a special timing situation for this evening because our speaker has indicated that he has a little trouble with colors.
Okay,
Color.
Okay.
so I could say the color. But anyway, yeah, so it's just, can you see if the light's on?
Yeah,
Let me see the top
So
one.
it starts green, then
it's like a
yellow.
traffic light. I'll just go by the position.
Yeah, the position.
Yeah.
When the top's on.
Now, is that
30
going to work? Because we
Yeah.
talked, Kanan, about doing the fingers.
Let's try that
Okay.
to make it easier.
Okay.
We'll try it out.
I don't want you to have any extra,
Nah,
stuff.
that's
Look
okay.
at me, I'll be doing fine.
Okay, so if you're in the middle and you're just, like, it's not working, go ahead, Janet, you could be watching,
Yeah,
and, Veda?
I have a suggestion. It could be possible that we could leave the green and yellow, so when we get to red, 3 lights will be on.
That
I
doesn't
think
help.
I'll just treat it like I'm driving and I'll
Like
go
the
that,
num-
the
The top
position.
one is the
Position.
red.
Yeah.
That's the only one you have to worry about.
Yeah,
So what I was gonna say is if it's a backup plan, if it's too distracting some way, he can just nod at you, just feel free to go, and Janet, then we're gonna want you to hold, 2 fingers for yellow and then 3 for
3
red,
fingers for red,
okay? Just
Yeah,
that's
sure.
our manual backup,
Okay.
alright, but how else you be, what
And
else
then
would you
if
try?
we have, what's his impromptu speeches? Table
Tabletop,
topics.
now you should be standing, you stand.
Table topics will be,
1 to 2,
pardon?
1 to 2.
Yeah, 1 to 2 minutes. The green light goes on at 1 minute, the yellow at 1.5, and the red at 2. And you will have the 30 seconds grace period to end. And I'll be recording that. And then evaluation, I see if it's on here, 2 minutes? 2 to 3
2 to
minutes?
3.
Okay, so that again, that'll be 2 minutes green, 2.5 yellow, and 3 minutes will be red.
Okay,
Okay.
great,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Now I'd like to hear from our grammarian, Art Atkinson.
Thank you.
Thanks
Uh,
for giving me this.
Let me, Mr. Cameraman, are you following around the room? I just want to make sure. Okay, good. Because I know we want to thank Adi because he has stepped up and is being our camera person in lieu of Dan. Got here and got all set up. Okay, great. So Art?
So Toastmasters, my role as grammarian has 2 parts. One is to listen to elegant or awkward use of the English language and to make suggestions for changes or congratulations, whichever is most appropriate. The other part of my duty is to choose a word of the evening, which is the word complacent, which means being smugly self-satisfied or having an uncritical appreciation for your own achievements. And a sentence using it would be, being complacent is no way to escape your comfort zone. So I will be listening for any of you to use the word complacent, or if you feel so inclined, complacently or complacency. And I'll give a report on those uses at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. And then we also have our odd counter for the evening, Carmen Antacona.
Today I'm gonna be in charge of the filler words, which can be like, so, but, and the tongue click that sometimes happens, nobody knows. Zeroed, which is when you repeat that words twice, and false start. And I'm gonna give my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we will hear from our general evaluator at a later time. That's Veda Royale, and then also our joke master will be Dee. And before we move on, I do have, Kane and I brought a copy of the evaluation. Do you
I
have
brought you a
that?
copy, yeah.
Okay, just in case, I was going, so if you could go ahead and pass that to me. Okay, great, good. Okay, I just want to remind you, when I'm Toastmaster, I'm kind of the clap Nazi. So that means, and so when we have a smaller group, I'm looking for people clapping, okay? Because it just makes a whole different feel. And if we need to go through an exercise to practice our clapping, we can do that. Some of you have done that with me as well, but we'll just go from that. All right, I'm wearing my Toastmaster hat, and we're at the point where we'd like to have our speaker do his presentation. And let me ask one more thing, Kanan, did you give me any little introduction, a couple of sentences?
Yeah, I didn't know that you would be delivering it. I wrote this down. Do you want to deliver it or do I?
Yeah, it's kind of like
Oh.
I do it and it's by the Toastmaster and it's like
Makes
setting you
sense.
up for just,
That
you know, you
makes sense.
think about being introduced and coming on, and
Yeah.
it's an important setup. Thank you. Great, okay, I can go with that. Our speaker tonight, doing his icebreaker, is Kanan Rice. He's, just a little bit of information, he's 40 years old, and he moved here to Fairfield in 1983 when he was 4 years old.
Well,
I think that makes him a native.
mhm.
He's lived and worked in Fairfield, in Seattle, in Denver, Mexico, Brazil, and Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mhm.
Okay, so he's been around. He's never been married and doesn't have children, but he'd like to be a dad sometime. He joined Toastmasters, obviously, to improve his public speaking because he has a new job that will require a lot of this from him. So he's really got professional tie-in with Toastmasters. The project he's working on tonight, because I'm also his evaluator, I know you're getting sick of me. I'm the president, I'm the
We love it.
Toastmaster, and I'm his evaluator. I will give somebody else a turn here in just a bit. As his evaluator, putting this hat on, Kanan he's working in the path called Presentation Mastery. And the purpose of the icebreaker is for the member to introduce himself or herself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. I will be looking for his overall ability to structure his content and just to get up and get comfortable being in front of an audience. With that, and did you have a title, Kanan, just by any chance,
Title,
for your icebreaker?
no.
Okay, so we'll just call it icebreaker. I think you said at one point, you said, I am Kanan.
Yeah, that was, I could do better than that. Let's just leave it.
We'll use that.
Yeah.
You could.
Okay, the working title, all right.
Powerful.
Yeah, all right.
At any rate, let's go ahead and please warmly welcome Kanan Rice.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. It's a pleasure to be here. I felt like a creep. I was 36 years old 4 years ago, and I was in an intro to public speaking course at Indian Hills Community College in Ottumwa. I was nearly twice the age of the oldest classmate and the age of the professor. This didn't make me feel very comfortable. Now, why did I feel like a creep? Well, for example, in one speech I gave, the topic was gun control. I'm very opposed to the Second Amendment and fairly outspoken about that, and I managed to offend nearly half the class, and that wasn't a good experience. I signed up for this course at Hills because I had been traveling nearly full-time for 8 years internationally across time zones, working 40 to 80 hours a week. A couple weeks were 100 hours. I was exhausted and I needed a break. So I took some time off, and so as not to just stay home and watch TV and waste my time, I signed up for a couple of courses at Indian Hills that interested me. One of those being this Intro to Public Speaking course. I had taken an Intro to Public Speaking course also as an undergrad at University of Iowa nearly 20 years prior, and I still felt like I could improve. Still feel like I can improve. That's why I'm here tonight. So That's why I'm here tonight. But before I go into why I'm here, I'm going to talk a bit about my job to provide some context for this speech and to give you some background on me. A recent poll done by the YouGov Institute said that approximately 70% of young consumers are willing to pay a premium at the supermarket for food that they know the source of. Where they know where it comes from. For example, when you go to the grocery store and you pay $1 extra for the food that has a seal on the packaging, it's typically a USDA organic seal, non-GMO project seal, Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, Marine Stewardship Council type of seal, and there's a certification that goes on behind that seal. Our company is contracted by these retailers to go audit these facilities, and if they pass the audit, they have the ability to put the seal on the packaging. And I like my job a lot. I definitely feel like I do no harm, and that at the end of the day, that feels good. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, I have to do a good deal of public speaking for this position, and that makes me nervous. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was notified that a week from tomorrow, I'll be giving a speech in Mexico in Spanish to about 50 people for an hour. Now, as a non-native speaker, I feel like my Spanish is adequate, but it's not like Carmen's. It never will be as good as hers. As much as I'd like, it never will be. So that adds a bit of more complexity to it and adds to my nerves. There's more though. In November in San Antonio, there's a conference that I have to present at for 30 minutes in English, which is nice, but I was told that there would be 300 people in the audience. This afternoon, they told me that there's actually going to be 800 people in the audience. Now, the thought of 800 people looking at me is pretty daunting, and it really makes me nervous. This brings me to my conclusion. This job requires a lot from me that I'm not yet comfortable with. I have 2 big presentations set already, and more will likely come up before November. And definitely feel like less of a creep standing here in front of you folks tonight than I did 4 years ago at Indian Hills, where I was twice the age of my classmates. And I'm excited to get to work. I'd like to thank you all for being kind and accommodating so far, and I won't be complacent about things.
Awesome. All right, let's, Madam Timer, if you could give us 2 minutes so we can write our evaluations. I'm gonna do a flip because I'm gonna ask for a little more time to complete my evaluation of Keenan. So what, the flip would be that we would move right into table topics. Our table topics master this evening, if that's all right with everyone?
Sure.
Is that good? Our table topics master this evening is Adi, and let's go ahead and welcome up Adi.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Great job, Ken. And good evening also, viewers at home. The Table Topic Master is all about having 2 minutes to speak freely, to practice public speaking, to have an introduction, body, and conclusion within 2 minutes. The time will be, you have 1 minute. At 1 minute, you'll see the green light, 1 minute and a half, the yellow, and if you exceed the 2 minutes, you'll see the red light. So the theme of, because the comfort zone, we're going to talk about the change. So any volunteer? Hey, please, help me. Hey. Choose a number.
Craig.
Great, okay.
It was quick.
When was the last time you tried something new? When was the last time you tried something new?
Mr. Table Topic Master, Toastmasters, viewers at home. You know, this is an extremely challenging subject because there's absolutely nothing new under the sun. But immediately I think of something that I did new approximately 40 years ago. And that was hang gliding.
Mm.
And recently, my interest in flight has been tickled because of the YouTube videos that I'm seeing on, it's a new sport called paramotoring, where you have a parasail and you strap yourself to a giant motor. And I feel like I've tried it and I've done it because these YouTube videos are so realistic. They have 360 degrees. You feel like you're flying with them, so you can really use your imagination for flight. You know, I spent an entire year of my high school, my college physical education class learning hang gliding. And they were so afraid of the winds being right that I actually never got off the ground. Until a few years later where I went to Kitty Hawk, known for flight, and I had my first genuine hang gliding flight. There was a nice long stretch of beach with the perfect slope downwards, the winds coming in as the Wright brothers had encountered. And I, with all my training, I got in there and I went for, I'd say, about 500 feet. Never feeling unsafe because the sand is always about 5 feet under your five physical feet underneath your feet. And even if you fell, you'd be just going into a bunch of sand. So that was my new, bold experience. Mr. Tabletopping.
Another volunteer? All right. Please help me. Dan. Choose the number.
2.
2. What life lesson did you learn the hard way?
Many.
What life lesson did you learn the hard way? Good luck.
Fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. Tonight, I'm going to talk about what life lesson I learned the hard way. The biggest one, which pops up immediately, is a good story. It's about the birth of my first son. Took all the Bradley classes with my husband. It was supernatural. Everything was natural, natural, natural. So I got really into it, to the extreme. So luckily everything turned out okay, but it wasn't a piece of cake. I ended up being late, long-term pregnancy, like 90, what is it, wait, how many weeks is it? 43 and a half I went.
Wow.
So, partially because my mother had 7 children and they were all 3 weeks late, she said. So my feeling was, we cook them longer, leave me alone. And I probably would have gone into labor at the right time, but my husband didn't get enough of the training about what to do when your wife is in labor. Be nice to her, extra nice. So he was fine, really. It's just that I was having my nesting hormones and wanted to shop. We had the cart and I was cruising around Sam's, putting everything in there, new curtains, pans, smears, who knows? And I was in labor and was very happy. So we went out for pizza, everything was great. Except from the shopping, he just saw that I was getting a little carried away. And he said, we don't need any of this crap. I was like, so I got mad. And that will stop your labor. So men, when your wife is in labor, just go along with her. You can always say, why don't we get some of it and bring, come back and get it later. Something like that. You gotta use a little schmooze factor here. So, labor stopped, didn't come back, and I was in my mind not quite prepared. Like, I didn't have the baby's curtains up yet. The baby can't come yet, I'm not ready. So there was a combination of things, but mostly it was the extreme natural training. Wrote a birth plan, wanted to follow it, and I wouldn't let them Pitocin me, give me the drip. So we survived. Anyway, that was that.
Volunteer. Okay. Please help me. Dean.
Long story.
Can I just mention, Dee, you're also table topics evaluator on the agenda. So if you didn't catch the first two,
Oh, I was also,
yeah. So
So just make a note.
maybe
Yeah.
he shouldn't go up. Just because he should stick. So let's just try, that's kind of my fault, Dee, I didn't mention it to you.
Please help me in
Yeah.
welcoming Carmen.
Okay.
It's just
Thank you.
getting it in.
Carmen, all right.
How are you?
No, we-
Anyone will take care of the time?
Yeah.
Choose a number.
5.
5. All right. I have questions.
4.
What gets you excited about life? What gets you excited about life?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. I really like this question because there is something that always makes me excited about this life on earth. And it is the nature. You can see a lot of trees, a lot of plants, beautiful animals, birds, cats, dogs, mouses, everything is alive on earth. It's unbelievable. You see water, there are fish, shark, plants. You see the plant, you put it in a microscope, there is still microorganisms in there, they are working, they are circulating around paths that you don't know, and in the air you can see viruses. If you have an electron microscope, you can see all the viruses that gives you the flu, this air is full of life. And I always say, when I'm dying, my memory is gonna be, oh my goodness, I'm just gonna go to other dimension, but maybe that other dimension is not gonna be so green as this one. But I am hoping that there is still so much life in other ways than here. But I'm still hoping, I'm sure it is. That's it.
Thank you. Do you have time?
Yes.
One volunteer.
I'll go if somebody wants to. Somebody evaluate me, I'll go up.
I just
Kanan?
took all I had to go once.
You did
so good. You
seem
Here.
like a pro.
Janet,
Wait.
He's gonna do it.
Wait, we have a taker.
Choose a number.
Getting outside your comfort zone.
4. Do you celebrate the things you have done? We're talking about the change. That's why.
You have up to 30 seconds to just think.
I don't know how to start it, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. This question makes me think of professional athletes when they're interviewed before and after a game. Most interviewees are incredibly boring. It's very predictable what they're going to say. If we score more points than the other team, we're going to win. If we play better defense than they do, we're going to win. Defense wins championships. And then you get the superstar athletes who boast about their achievements, which is nauseating. It's not pleasant to listen to. Based on that, I try to be somewhere in the middle between predictable and boastful, somewhere in the middle. Not too arrogant, but also not too predictable.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have time?
Probably we should finish up. I think we're.
Art? We have art. Okay,
Let's see. What,
choose a number,
6:30?
Art.
If he wants to do it.
Okay.
He raised his hand.
She's the Toastmaster, she
I know, I'm
decides.
the Toastmaster.
Ah,
Okay.
All right, we'll do art.
Okay.
We'll do art.
Okay, what's an available number? Is 4 the type?
4 was taken.
I did not try. Okay, I'll choose a number for you. 16.
Okay, number 4, what is the question?
Okay, let's take it.
Oh,
16.
ask me a question.
Okay. What's the difference between living and existing?
Fellow Toastmasters and viewers at home, I have the privilege of doing this from my seat because of the difference between living and existing. Existing, in my dictionary, is about just getting by, just passing days. One could be just existing and have no goals, no ambitions, no achievements, no loves, no passions. Living is about going for the gusto, going for everything that you can get, having the most sublime experiences, choosing to live purposefully, getting out of the comfort zone if possible, getting exhilaration, learning, as Veda was talking about, to do something outrageous like hang glide, learning to sail boats, learning to fly airplanes, learning to dance, learning to talk in front of groups of people. I'm committed to getting out of existing, getting back into living. At the present time, I have to pay attention to a lot of details that you blessed people are not having to pay attention to in your own lives. But I have to in my own just to exist. And it's given me an opportunity to be really focused on what's important, which is a part of the important things in living. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, please help me in welcoming thee to evaluate the speakers.
Are you counting them?
I guess I'll count.
So we had, Canaan, no, correct. I took notes on both of those.
Yeah, Canaan was first.
Canaan went first.
His long speech.
Oh.
Is he doing a long speech or just table? Oh, just table? Veda.
Veda went first. I took notes on, yeah, Veda. Oh, the one thing I like about Veda, he always does this every time he speaks. He always reflects and takes a few minutes, maybe longer, I think, probably than most people, to kind of think about what he's going to say. I tend to get up and just blurt it out. But he'll take some time to think about what he needs to say. And he always takes a nice, good, deep breath in, which helps you relax. He related this, the thing I like, related to professional athletes, which everybody has some.
Not.
Oh, that was Canaan,
I did
sorry.
hang gliding.
To hang gliding, that was right. And the you need to focus on, the body and what you're doing and how you're moving in that arena. Okay. Sorry, I was taking notes on two different things here.
You didn't have a note on me.
Huh?
You didn't have a note on me.
He did write them later.
Carmen.
It was Carmen, yeah.
Yeah,
Carmen. Yeah, it was
So
Carmen.
Janet was after Veda.
Yeah, Carmen. The one thing I like about Carmen is she always takes time to think about what she's going to say. Takes a good breath in, and she related this to professional athletes. It was a good analogy, I think.
No,
That was
I'm
Veda.
somewhat excited about it.
Yeah.
That was Canaan.
I'm sorry, I got my notes mixed up here.
Sorry, Janet. What did I do? I was
How life,
Huh?
life,
My life.
how alive everything
Yeah,
is.
right, how alive everything was. And she typically uses a lot of hand gestures, pauses a lot, pauses to think how the flow is going to go. And then who was next? That was Janet. Right, Janet. The one thing I like about Janet, she takes some time before she speaks, thinks about it, and she moves around a bit when she's speaking. And the other thing I like about Janet, she tends to laugh at herself, right? She tends to laugh at herself as she's talking. And then who was the last one? Canaan. Yeah. I have
No,
Canaan.
Canaan and I.
Canaan was the one with the sports.
Yeah. Sorry, I was doing two different things. Canaan. Yeah, again, Canaan took some time to think about what he was going to say. He usually takes a nice deep breath in before he speaks. You're the one that related to professional athletes, that's right. Which is a very good analogy. You relate to superstars and how they have to really prepare themselves. Uses a lot of good hand gestures. And who was the last?
Art.
Art. Art is very focused in what he has to say and how he's going to think about what he has to say. Art tends to be a little more cerebral, I think, than myself. I'm more emotional and, moving around a lot. And yeah, that was great. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should look.
Should Please help me in what's coming. The evaluation, the general evaluator.
We still have to do the speech evaluation, so you're going to have to hand it to the general evaluator, I guess that's me.
That's you.
Okay,
That's where we are.
okay, great.
And I need the votes for the study topic. Votes.
Oh, the votes, who's got the
I
votes?
gave the vote to.
Yeah, I have it. Yours.
Yeah.
For you.
Please get all table topic votes to Adi.
Table topic votes, the result was given to Jean.
Well, the both sides of the room were doing something different.
Well, excuse me, can I see the?
I'm still
It does not change the outcome of the vote. The vote I gave to you.
okay.
General evaluation section of the meeting. My responsibility is to evaluate the evaluators and also introduce the role players for the reports. At this time, I would like to call up the speech evaluation for Canaan, which is Jean. Please welcome Jean for the speech evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters, and particularly Canaan, our speaker who's not only speaking, he's doing icebreaker, but he's also doing table topics, so a lot of breaking out of comfort zones tonight. Not complacent in the slightest. I'm going to give some general comments based on the evaluation form for the icebreaker. What did he excel at? He started out right away with a personal story. Personal stories are always compelling. He's telling that story about being in the class, and he had some humor there right away too. I felt like a creep. Well, right away, I love hearing about creeps, so I'm leaning in and I'm wanting to hear why that is. He structured his talk well. He talked about a little bit of his background, public speaking, and how he had become interested in that, and then he talked about 2 presentations that are coming up. And he demonstrated something I really thought was great, that he's already analyzing the audience characteristics for those speeches. One's going to be in Spanish, it's a certain size, it's a certain location. Another one is going to be in English, larger group, all of that. So he's showing signs already of what speakers do to really connect effectively with their audience. He also, I like his conclusion that he wrapped it back around and he summarized. So he summarized some of his points from his talk, and he also even mentioned the creep theme again at the end, which again, I'm a sucker for creeps. I just like that. But that shows a coherence in that speech. So he really did well in terms of getting his content organized for an icebreaker. What I would suggest for Canaan, and evaluation of course is always just one person's opinion. You can get other opinions. But he had a little bit of filler words, some nervousness perhaps, a little bit of repetition and Xeroxing where you say the sentence, you start it again. Sometimes that's just can be a fatigue factor, sometimes it can be a nervous factor. But he also stopped himself from doing filler words. I watched it and he let himself, you could tell he's almost, and then he went. So that was really, really excellent. So something to watch, and you'll learn with Toastmasters. To challenge himself, I would say he has a nice baseline vocal tone, very easy and comfortable to listen to, but he could work in some louder and softer and higher and lower tones for texture. Also pauses. So for example, he could have gone louder with, he's talking about his second speech. And then I found out there were 800 people gonna be in the room. That would have been something to, add some texture. An hour long, for pause, an hour long presentation in Spanish. And, that kind of, the emphasis. And the final suggestion would be some higher tones. About the 800 people. Yikes! Outside of my comfort zone. Yeah. So see a little higher and then go back to the baseline. So just play, but that would give some texture. Loved it, looking forward to more. That's your general evaluation.
Thank you, Jean. I think it's great that you did not say thank you. You remembered to refer it back to me, which jogged my memory because I'm busy evaluating the evaluators. Next on the agenda is going to be to vote for the best evaluator. Did both of the evaluators qualify?
Well, Jean was 335.
Okay, so I didn't qualify.
So by default, D will be the winner. We'll announce him again later with not being complacent on that count. So we'll now have the timer report. Please read the timer report.
Kanan's speech was perfect timing, 4.45. So that's well within the range. And table topics, we had Beta at 222, Janet at 229, Carmen 143, Kanan 107, and Art 2 minutes 11 seconds. And then the speech evaluators, you were about 2 and 15, and Jean was 335. I don't know if that's
That wasn't
right.
evaluator
You
D.
weren't.
D
Okay,
wasn't
D. Oh,
evaluator.
I forgot.
You didn't.
Thank you.
Yes.
Pretty good.
Next, we'll have the odd counter. Please let us know what the odd count was. Carmen.
Canon, for your speech, I only have one R because I forgot that I was the accountant. Jean, one so. Veda, one one you know, 2 zeros. Janet, 2 souls. And me, clean. Canon, clean. R, clean. D, 1 R and 5 amps. And 1 zero.
Next, we have Art, which will be the grammarian report. Art, do you have a grammarian report?
The word of the evening was moderately successful. Kanan used it. Beta just used it a second ago. I was particularly interested in the creep language because a creep to me is someone who does something outrageous and on the disgusting side. And I just didn't seem to fit with a passionately held political opinion about the Second Amendment. I couldn't quite make a creep out of that. Anyhow, Veda gave us a very arresting opening sentence to his table topic. There's really nothing new under the sun. In answer to tell me about something you did new, that was a pretty brilliant move. I really enjoyed Carmen and Janet. They're just gentle enthusiasm to answer their questions. That's my report.
At this time, if we have a joke by anyone in the audience,
I have jokes.
Dee has the joke, he is the joke master, so we will allow him to make his jokes, he is fun. Dee, would you like to ask from the podium?
Do you hear about the mathematician?
Wait, you haven't, stay up there, Jake,
Sure.
there, okay.
Secret kind of things. Do you hear about the mathematician who's afraid of numbers? He'll stop at nothing to avoid them. Think.
I
He'll
have
stop
to
at
zero.
nothing. Zero.
Zero, okay, I got it. Okay, that gets all right, next.
That gets- I find these jokes, you know, at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, right?
Well, kind of shocked.
What do you call friends who love math?
Enemies?
Algebros.
Algebros.
That's a new one.
All right, okay, all right, oh.
Thank you, Dee, for those jokes. It's better than doing the jokes at 7:45 during the meeting.
Speaking.
I'd like to speak about the meeting, but first I will evaluate the evaluators. If you could give me timing for how much?
3 to 4.
3 to 4 minutes. I probably won't use that, but you can give me 3 to 4 minutes to time so I see red lights blinking in my eyes. First of all, we had D, who was the table topic evaluator. Now, I would say that D is not totally at fault for the missing of the fact that he was supposed to start on these evaluations, because normally we're so organized we would mention during the meeting his title to jog his memory. So naturally, when it came to giving his evaluation, he did get confused about his notes, but when he did recover, he did quite well, considering that he wasn't even knowing he was supposed to do the job when he had to recall what I was doing. So it was quite well that he actually does have an ability to go back and recall. So I really like that, and the thing is that D always has a good voice, he has a personable manner, and he uses gestures. So he's just naturally a good speaker. It puts us at ease, and it lets us forgive him for his faux pas. My only suggestion was because of the confusion, you weren't able to give us the kind of suggestions you're usually able to give us. So for you, it was not the best job, but on average, it was a good job for the average person. But D is usually has such a high standard. Thank you, D. Next, we had Jean, who evaluated the speech. Jean's been around the lectern a few times, as we would say. So she naturally uses her arms. She naturally demonstrates when she's telling us that you had good gestures, like you leaned in. You see her practically falling over the table. But it's not unnatural. She also has a really good trait of making like an introduction to what she's talking about, so we know what she's going to be talking about. She has great vocal variety, and she demonstrated to us, it was like a miniature educational session, not just for Kanan, but for all of us. How to use the voice, for vocal variety, to be loud, to go slower, to go higher, to go lower. Now we have an issue with this particular meeting hall that we are not free from the lectern. So this gives a tendency to be lectern-centric. We're all guilty of it. In other meeting halls, we can get out from behind it. So just to give you a chance to forget about the lectern, and we all could have moved around to the left, to the right, in everything we did. We didn't do that tonight. So that's just a general topic for everyone in the room. So thank you, Jean, for that great, incredible speech evaluation, which we really appreciated it, but did go over by 5 seconds, disqualifying you. Now to talk about the general meeting, I felt guilty because just before the meeting, I found in my spam filter the note about coming early.
No, no. How much time does he have left, just so he knows?
Well, that was 3:50 and then I stopped it for 5 seconds.
Okay, so.
So you can just resume
So
timing,
40
just give me a.
40 more seconds.
Yes. I would say that with the absence of our president and Jean taking on multiple roles, which in my opinion did not have to be mentioned as much as it was, because then we fake it until we make it, it looks better on camera. But I have a couple of pointers for Adi. He did an excellent job, but it was his first time being topics master, and he continued to stand up, which I gestured for him to sit down. That would make us more comfortable just finding a chair. And also, Art was not quite done speaking. We just need to really let people naturally end, give 1 or 2 seconds, and then start the clapping. But all in all, it was a great meeting, and I really enjoyed it for one. Thank you, Jean, for holding it together tonight. And I will be turning it back to Jean now for the stunning conclusion. Whatever the conclusion
Whatever,
is.
however stunning it is. All right, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's thank our general evaluator. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Okay, I think I know. We have some awards to hand out. And first, let's start with our table topics. Art Atkinson. I tell you, Art, you know, I mean, it'd be nice if you let some other people win sometimes.
I just to keep my mouth closed.
I know, it's just, you know. There you go, you're getting a real stash of those. Okay, yay. Yay. Okay. Our best evaluator, D, you dog you took it, I went over it, so there we go, there you go. Well, here's how you take it, like this, so there you go. I didn't really call you a dog, I mean, we're affectionate, that was an affectionate canine reference. Okay. And finally, our icebreaker, our new speaker, Kanan. Okay, there you go. Get used to getting all those awards at all your presentations. All right. Okay. Thank you, we're good. I did want to mention that the Fairfield Media, it puts our videos up on, up on Facebook and all. They're really looking pretty active with us because we are getting videos up pretty regularly. And so last week's video where we had Hudaifa there, I put a picture up, but remember we had him and we wished him well. And so I really recommend that you check out you can go to our Facebook Golden Speakers number 7515, or you can just go right over to YouTube and look at Golden Speakers Toastmasters and look it up. And Kanan, your talk will be there for on the weekend is usually when Dan puts it up. But it's just really very fun. For me, I get a lot of waves of, Oh, I remember that. And, oh, Janet was looking so cute that night, and boy, Art was powerful. And, you know, look at Carmen up there doing all of her stuff, and I just, you know, and it's a lot of times it's late, so I'm just in there. So if you feel a little buzz wherever you are, it's because I'm probably watching you on YouTube. But again, I just encourage you to and share it for people if you like. Next week we have 2 speeches. We have Carmen, and we also have Adi. Okay, so we'll have that. And I wanted to have, as your Vice President of Education, I wanted, you know, in my continuing education about Easy Speak and the software that we use there, and I have some more pieces to figure out. But Carmen, could you explain how, and this everyone pays attention, how you go into Easy Speak and request a speech and give your preferences? You're doing it right from what I can see.
Could you find my requested speeches?
I did, I found it.
Both? That I did it twice, and then you told me that the first one was.
Well, I didn't go in and look, you know, because I didn't know that you had already put in for one. It's a little
Okay.
tricky because sometimes I'll say yes to someone because I think I know, and then I go back and see it. But just, I want to see if we can use the tool the way it's
Yeah.
designed, so.
There is a column on the left side, and there are small letters that says request speech. You click on that, and then it opens up a window that says there are 3 parts. It says, the first one is the pathways that you are taking. So you just click on that, and that is going to show your pathway, so you just check on that. And it's already there. And then it's asking you the title. The title, you just put your title or whatever title you have in mind. And then the third one is they are asking you to choose a date, but they give you 3 options. So the first one is the date that you wanted, then the second and the third one. And after that, you submit, and it says that it's gonna be emailed to Vice President or someone in the club, and they are gonna contact you when they approve it. So I think I always do it that way, so I think it's working.
Okay. I haven't seen an email come in. I'm dying to, you know, I'm on this side of it. You know, so I'm wanting people to use it and then, so I can see what happens. So you get that, you log into Easy Speak over on the left, there's the request to speech, and then you just follow the yellow brick road. I did find where people, I found something old from Veda, I think it looked like you tried to do it one time, but you know, it's not like it pops up right at me, which I would, so I'm just trying to learn it, but that's a great way to do it, and because she tells me what pathway is on, what path she's on, that's helpful, because like Adi can tell me, I know Adi's got his speech for next week, but you know, as good as my brain usually is, I can't remember everybody's path. I think I've got presentation mastery because I think of, you know, Kanan up there presenting Spanish, English, whatever. You have innovative planning, right? Okay, so but you don't want to count on my memory. So you go in and you'll put your speech in, and we'll just see, and I'll see if I get an email from you, okay, or from the system. Also, I wanted to ask, this is not you, but this is a new person from Kanan. Kanan, when, you know how you were asking me about password and all like that, when I first set you up in Easy Speak, there's I gave a kind of a standard password thing, and what I thought you got was an email that had within it your username and password. That didn't happen?
What I got was an email saying, do you accept the icebreaker speech role or?
Okay, now that was after you're already, so that was the first thing you
that's
got
all
from
I-
Easy Speak?
That's all I got from
First
Easy Speak.
thing.
Yeah, the only thing I got from Easy Speak.
Because from my side, it looks like Easy Speak is sending out an email, so, but if, you know,
Again, check spam filters,
Yeah.
Could be,
because
yeah.
mine
Are going into spam.
keep going to spam. I think a lot of people just spam those things. And then
okay.
So
It's like
how
a
do you
national
whitelist it?
problem.
How do you whitelist it, or can you?
Well, today I went in and I said not junk, but I usually was going in my phone, so I wasn't able to do that. But today, doing it from my computer, I'm hoping that it will now
Should
remember.
work, absolutely.
And if I'm setting somebody up, I can say, you know, and you should be getting, it looks like you're getting an email, please let me know, but also check your junk
Because I get
spam
some
folder.
of your emails, but others go into junk mail.
Well, this new one, I really wanna make sure, cause Kanan was going, I can't get in, you know, what's the, so, and I just happened to remember. Okay, so thank you for bearing with while I continue to have my own little learning curve with Easy Speak. Do we have any club business at this point?
No, I just want to remind everyone that they didn't pay already. Please pay the membership renewal.
Okay, membership renewals.
Yeah.
Okay, and the amount is $54.
$54, cash or check.
Cash or check or card with $2
With
fee.
$2, which is not.
Yeah, and Carmen doesn't know how to do the square yet, right?
Oh.
Is that right?
How to
I
take
asked
square
Dan,
payment?
I asked Dan before I came, I said, does Carmen have the square and can she do it? You know,
Oh,
I could show you, I have some.
okay, yeah.
But I think Dan volunteered to do any payments that Carmen couldn't.
Dan took my payment with Square.
okay,
Dan,
Dan just wants to be indispensable,
He is.
that's the deal. Okay, good, all right, well, so right now, cash or check, and we're past the middle of the month, so it really is getting important to get that in.
It has to be all finished by October 1st.
It has to be earlier than that,
Let's
All
put it
finished
September
meaning-
30.
Meaning it's been submitted, fully submitted.
yeah,
As long as you pay
Next
before
week. You
October.
have to pay next week.
yeah, next week is
Next
the
week is the
last
last week.
time, that's the last time.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, Carmen, you've got you have permission to go off the leash and, do what you have to do. Okay,
Okay, I will.
all right. All right, we're done? We're good?
Yeah.
Everyone's got good? Okay, well, thank you for everyone for being here, stepping in, doing the roles. Please help us clean up here, and the meeting is adjourned.